No, Audra, I love the new look. And I don't care what anyone says. I don't think it's trying to look like someone else. You just be you, sister.
Right? I guess the tattoos I think, are a bit much, but that's hey, you've committed to it, and I really
Yeah,
appreciate
it
that.
was so shocking, Audra, to go from, no tattoos and that dark brown hair to the shorter blonde and sleeves.
It's a commitment.
It's a
It's always a
commitment.
commitment.
But it came with the car, so I
But it came
feel
with the
like that
car. Yeah.
really that's a
New
selling
day,
point.
new you. New day, new you. Howdy, everyone. Welcome to Coffee Talk with Serge. I'm Brian Kovar. This is Mick Baccio. And sitting in for Audra is Katie Brown, the lovely benevolent. We have an exciting show today. We're going to discuss international politics. Mick is going to take some surprising stands. We're going to go over some Cisco vulnerabilities. We're going to talk about Signal. We're going to talk about misconfiguration and management, and probably learn a few things about each other along the way.
We always do.
I'm excited. If it's your first time for Coffee Talk, buckle in, and we'll be about 40 minutes or so, I think, give or take. For those of you watching, please make sure you have, feel free to drop in comments. We'll read them, we'll review, and we'll make fun of you if they're rude, especially Katie, which is very upsetting when she does that to me. So
I see a comment from Brandon. I've got an initial phone interview coming up for robotics software engineer role. Any quick tips? I saw the robot dog at DARPA, and that's as close as my robotics experience gets. So
I think I escorted you to see the robotic dog personally.
And you then chided me and pointed to the sign that says "Mick no pictures."
Mick no pictures, and also Mick no touchy, which was awkward.
But it was a dog. You pet dogs. I don't get it.
Dogs. I would say watch the documentary on robotic development, Short Circuit, which had just a phenomenal life journey of Johnny Five, who is, by the way, still alive. And Katie is not laughing because she's young, unlike us.
I wasn't going to ask.
All about just the horrible acting in the movie and just
Johnny Five alive. We'll watch it later. It's a great film.
Okay, you guys are really selling the movie for me.
It's good enough for a sequel.
Very good. I mean, if you knew the Nintendo, you're a gamer. Did you ever see the Nintendo robot, like the NES robot?
The little power glove?
I did not, but I have a robust imagination.
Okay, well, we're not going to go there. This is a show for children. Thank you. Sorry, Brandon, we're not much help for you on the robotic.
I will help you not get the job, I think. I know nothing about robots except Transformers and Voltron. That's really where I peaked.
There we go. We'll watch Short Circuit. I think that's really your best. Do not blame us if you do not get the job. Thank you. With that, let's get to the bulk of the show here. Let's roll clip. First on the news today, something that we did quite a bit of review, especially Audra, our beloved Audra, is at a conference this week. But something that was raised to us was a recent CVE, which was actually a 10.0, an exploitation of Cisco's iOS XE software web management and user interface vulnerability. This is a big one, but not as much as people might think. Mick, what are your thoughts on this? I know we talked about it quite a bit.
So from my read on the review of it, and Talos team did a fantastic job of the write-up. Go ahead and check out their website, get the full details on it. My understanding is the admin server is exposed to the internet, which I think that in itself is a 10.0, right? But that vulnerability, if that condition is true, then you're in for a bad day. But I think that's, like I said before, that's, oh no, my front door is open and someone stole my things.
Yep. On top of it,
it's horrible. If you're affected by it, it is a bad day for you, because there's really, from my understanding so far, there's not really a patch right now. We're working on it. It's not really a workaround other than take your admin server off the internet.
Yeah, that was the scariest line in that article, is by the time we were writing this article, no patch is available.
Sure. I mean, they release this sort of stuff because they're seeing active exploitation, right? So good on them for getting this out there. It's better to be aware. Once there's active exploitation, you kind of have to make that next step. but it's kind of one of those things where, you know, if you have an admin portal open to the outside over an HTTP port,
you better have a good reason.
You better have a good reason, and you may do. I mean, we have all had the. I mean, Katie, you were operational for many years before you came to Splunk. I mean, I'm sure you saw this multiple times, right? What are your thoughts here? Like, what are the network defenders dealing with that they should be thinking about because they can't patch yet?
That's a really good question. When there is a patch, what that rollout is going to look like, how to do that most efficiently. I think the concern with bigger organizations is patch management is really difficult because you can't just do it, right? Even if it's something that involves an ODay, you can't just go patch the entire company. So defining a way to be meticulous about that rollout, I think, is an important step. In ordering a lot of Domino's pizza, you know.
With instant response whiskey. Mick, in our previous life, we would a lot of times these would be filed under POAMs. What's a POAM for those who have not worked in the DoD and Fed space?
So it's a plan of actions and milestones. You know, basically, hey, yep, it's bad. We're gonna fix it, and here's how. It's like I am horribly out of shape. If you have met me, I am just a walking, just dough ball. I'm gonna get in shape, and here's my plan to get there over the course of however long we think it will take.
Is that an analogy, Mick, or do you need reassurance right now?
A little bit of both. But like it's just basically we're gonna kick that can down the road for now, and it's sometimes you can accept that risk and sometimes you can't. I think given the criticality of this specific vulnerability, you need to fix this one. You need that crash diet.
Yeah, and that might be with detections. I know that our wonderful threat research team is working on these right now. I think you talked to some folks about that today, right, Mick?
Right. I know Michael Hagan and the threat research team, they've got some detections, some very, very basic ones on their GitHub now. I know they're not finalized, but expect something in the next 24, 48 hours, I'm sure, for that team. It's something we're trying to work on just to get something out to all the customers. And, hey, look, here's what you can do to detect the activity. Because like we mentioned earlier, there isn't really a patch for it, but that awareness is going to help shape your operational decisions.
Yep. Not easy, a big deal, but you know, hopefully folks don't have this open, and if you do, there's some mitigating things you can do. So stand by. The next thing, all three of us are pretty big fans of Signal, and there was a little bit of excitement about that, wasn't there? Danielle, you throw that up there. Mick, you were actually the one who spread all this disinformation to my local.
It's kind of my jam, right? It's like the little exploit that wasn't. So a bunch of people got a text or got information saying that a ZeroDay exploit existed in Signal. And Signal is highly regarded in the community, widely used for encrypted messaging. It's it's known for strong privacy and strong security features. So, you know, hey, this is bad. A lot of speculation on what it was because there was no detail on it other than update Signal to the latest version and disable link previews, which, to be honest, that's something that we saw exploitation of a few months ago in the picture libraries. So disabling that's kind of a standard thing, and I think it's off in most instances now. Signal came back and they said, you know, hey, look, we're seeing nothing. It's unsubstantiated. There's no evidence. You can continue to trust the application and keep us informed. So the rumors kind of bubbled all the way up and around. And I think it's, you know, it's like those rumors that you heard when you were a kid and have no idea where they came from, but it's something that everyone knew. This spread pretty quickly. So, yeah, it's like a little exploit that wasn't.
Yeah, and we wanted to talk about this a bit because security professionals use Signal quite a bit. I know I've seen people say, oh, this is what their family should use, or certainly depending on what part of the world you're in, this is a very good way to do off corporate comms during incidents. I know some organizations that use WhatsApp. I know some that use Signal. It's something that is part of our mantra. But what we kind of liked about it was really around this concept that we look to the internet to get these breaking news events, right? Like we found out about I found out about the Cisco vulnerability because of Twitter, because somebody posted who I respected. And the website formerly. I found out about Signal because, you know, Mick, who I trust, sent something over to me. Katie, once again, kind of pulling on your days, like how did you and the SOC that you worked at try to keep up on breaking news events? Did you have any way of verifying when disinformation or accidental, whether it be purposeful or not, came up?
Yeah, I think reputation is a huge play here. So obviously, so many different platforms to track what other, recognized security practitioners are saying. Yeah, but reputation's a lot. So, whether it's via Twitter at the time, news articles, RSS feeds, random notifications from three-party agencies, whatever the case is, if there's that good reputation there, we would follow those leads.
Now, was that just a way to work Taylor Swift into the conversation?
I will always find a way to do that.
Challenge accepted. No, I think it's true. It's when you are responding to an incident or just being aware of an incident itself, that trusted news source is something that you look for, whether it's a community or whether it's an online source or something like that. It's kind of critical in an operator role as that second source of information. Ryan, to your point, the Cisco exploit, that was really yesterday's news. And as soon as we heard about it, you start searching your trusted sources like, hey, have you heard about this? Is this as big as I think it is or not? And it goes back to that reputation. And I think once that reputation is tarnished,
it's hard
to get back, which is a perfect segue.
Well, hold on. I want to ask one thing though, right? Like in the world of, Patch Tuesday and Vulnerability Wednesday, can you even wait? I mean, how much do you have to go for this, right? Like, I guess this does tie well into the segue. Perhaps I jumped the gun there. I hate to do that. Jump the gun would be a horrible thing to do.
I think it's mandatory.
But like, you have to do this because if you're behind by a couple of days and hours, like this can be calamitous, right? Or minimally your boss is telling you and you're missing something there, right?
Right. So like when WannaCry happened, if you were like, nah, we're good. Think Fuddruckers is open. Let's go get, like, you're going to have a really bad day. So it's just that verification. And to me, you have the online sources, but I think it goes back to that trust community that you have. And that community grows over time and spreads over time in different facets, but it's that verified source of information, because I just think online sources are getting harder and harder to find to remain reputable and credible sources.
Do you think they demand accountability, which is the segue you were going to before I ruined it?
I think they could demand accountability, but you'd have to keep people working for that.
Yeah, Danielle, if you could bring up the next one.
What does that look like?
What was that, Katie?
What does accountability look like? I'm wondering what Mick's opinion is.
See, and that is a whole other conversation, because then you start going into Section 230 when you start writing the online content, who's responsible for that censorship and what does that censorship look like? The accountability for misinformation, I think, is an incredibly sticky thing because of the way it's being generated now and amplified now. And accountability for that is on the platform owners, what that specifically looks like. I mean, first it starts with if it's reported and verified, it's taken down, right? Beyond that, it's a larger conversation. I think that would be platform specific. And it's going to get to that point where it's going to have Section 230 has to be looked at.
Right. Yeah, it's in a world where we have looked at Twitter for so long, or the thing formerly known as Twitter, and these recent new platforms, Mastodon, Threads, Instagram, all of them.
True Social.
Yeah, although Joe Biden did join True Social, and it is pretty fire. So I
think the kids are saying it's lit. Dark Brandon has come. It is.
There we go. Yeah, it's something where for many years of our career, I've looked at Twitter, like 10, 15 years now, like staying on top of Twitter every day was basically part of our jobs, right? And now I find myself going into it less and less because I don't know it's on there, I can't trust it, or it's overwhelmed with content that I do not wish to look at. And it's going to be interesting as governments, I mean, the EU does not F around on this. They are very happy to put people in their places when it comes to their citizens' privacy or things that they think go against the morals and ethics of their nation states. So I'm curious to see how this will impact them. And then the trickle down is like, will we, and I guess, Katie, this is a question that I'd love your take on, like, will the cybersecurity community be lesser without something like Twitter, or will we find a different path, or will we just go back to a pre-Twitter world? What are your thoughts?
I think where there's a will, there's a way, and we will find community somewhere. But my take when reading this article, and I'm saying this being someone who has a V for Vendetta tattoo, I like the notion of this. I like the notion of, basically curtailing the news or curtailing what is available to us on social media platforms, because we have entire generations now that they don't watch the news. They're, like, gone are the days where people are using newspapers or reading newspapers. We're getting our information from Twitter, from Instagram, from TikTok, right? And if there's not some sort of, consensus on this is valid, this is not valid, we're going to have an entire generation that is just incredibly misinformed.
Too long, didn't read. Katie Brown hates free speech.
Yeah, I kind of tuned that after the first little part when you were talking. Something about being online too. I don't know. It's really long. I need like a blurb of it.
Yeah, like 140 characters worth.
The availability of social media platforms for anyone in an authority position to echo that message is a good thing, right? Like if I'm the president and I have so many different channels to speak my message.
That was the surprising part about Twitter, right? Was how much, like, I depended upon it for civil information. Like that's how I found out when my garbage collection changed. That's when I found out like power outages. That's when I found out about like local events from the libraries. Like from the civil point of view, for zero cost, 100% marketing, it was phenomenal.
And look at Facebook being in that same vein. So many businesses, so many community groups, so much research is done on the platform that it's that invaluable source of information, or at least was. I think trust in both like social media and traditional news outlets themselves. Katie, you mentioned the paper. That's kind of eroded. Younger generations, I speak, back in my day, I just think my children express very little trust in either source. And many people turn to those alternative online sources, like you mentioned. It's not CNN or NBC or Fox News, whatever that looks like. It's a person who is regurgitating that with their slant to you. And I think that is where a lot of the issue lies.
Yeah, Katie, I know you look at TikTok a lot more than Mick and I. You've sent stuff over to me. Interestingly, the kids, the children. Tell us I remember 2 years ago, I guess it was about 2 years ago when there was the big debates about Chinese takeover or the ownership of TikTok and America possibly taking that over. And there was a lot of discussion around, was it racist? Was it not? Would we have cared? We don't seem to care when large info gathering tools like Facebook or others are owned by American or Western. Why do we care about a Chinese-owned platform? And I think the thing that I was most interested, kind of echoes what you said, Katie, was someone, it was actually on the Risky Biz podcast. They had someone on, it might have been Dmitry Apollovich, and he talked about the concern is less them spying. Like I have a lovely Pixel. I love my little Pixel. If I say, okay, Google, it's going to come up. It's always listening, right? It's there. If I say, Siri, download Blue Nomicon, a whole bunch of you just had your phone go off and do that, right? Like we're obviously okay with having devices always listening, capturing data. But the concern from like people who are into this was that the algorithms, whether it was intentional, like malicious or not, the algorithms behind TikTok were being, culturally influenced by the Chinese National Party, right? Like at the end of the day, like whether you mean it or not, if you are an owner of that company and you live in China, you're going to want to abide by the rules of that country, which we may not agree with in other countries.
But I think it's a larger conversation that goes back to how we view data. And we've had conversations like this with Kirsty Payne all the time, where when you look at a country like China, that data belongs to the state. Yeah. So it's okay. And that activity, that behavior, that use it's not encouraged, but it's understood and accepted as daily use. It's just, that's the cost of doing business. Whereas you look at the EU and that legislation where the data is clearly focused on the individual, and a lot of the what we just talked about with, X becoming this huge source of information, specifically around the Israel-Hamas situation, that they're doing something about it. And it's just unique to see those countries' different approaches to data and compared to the US. But
A
it's a
little
whole
known fact, in Chinese, the character for data is actually a sparrow. So there you go. Here's our deep pull for the day.
I will say, as someone who may or may not be an avid TikTok user,
May or may not.
I have
may not. Okay.
find me on TikTok.
KTKB.
I've tried to meticulously curate my For You page to be like cat videos, faith restored in humanity, things that I want to see, right? But every single day I'm seeing something that is policy related, something that's political, something that is, based on my history. I shouldn't be seeing it on my For You page.
Wasn't there an article a few months ago that talked about how those algorithms, specifically TikTok, are juiced based on advertisers, based on commercial deals, things of that nature?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, how could it not?
Right. So I understand what you're trying to do, and it's weird because that kind of content, I think, should be promoted organically within the platform if there's the ability to do that via the algorithm.
Katie, my question is, was it a cartoon cat, like Chairman Cat Meow, with a Taylor Swift background music doing politics? Because if so, I think I might know where you went wrong.
Uh-huh.
I
like if it was a communist cat.
I'm going to take the bet. Blank Space was playing in background.
Yeah, there we go. It's hard.
Yeah.
These are hard.
I understand. Chairman Meow has captured a lot of hearts. It's just...
hearts and minds. Speaking of hearts and minds and information, we have a couple things coming up that we'd love to talk to you all about. First, as always, incredible security detail. Audra Streetman gone today, but here tomorrow, I believe, or later this week with a new episode. Kirsty Payne will be interviewing, I believe, the CISO of EasyJet. I had a peek listen the other day, and it was a really interesting episode. So if you haven't done this before, please go out, download, subscribe. It's on Apple, Spotify, Podbean. You put in the security detail, you can find a whole bunch of wonderful things there. Highly recommend it. And if you feel very, very excited, please leave a 5-star review so we can out-hack the algorithms. As Dr. Fetterman says, algorithms optimize engagement, not well-being. And that's why
He is a math doctor. That is a very math doctor answer.
Yeah, math doctor. Doctor, sing me an algorithm. Okay, what else do we have coming up here? Some upcoming events. Shannon Davis and James Hodgkinson are actually in the Australian Cybersecurity Conference right now. I believe they are on site today. I think they present today or tomorrow. They're going to be talking about their Google Chrome work. And you can even find, if he's still around, I know he presented yesterday, but John Stoner was presenting there, a Surge alum and trader. So there you go. Mick, what are you up to today?
Today. So after our show, I'm going to get pretty and take off my Jordans and go hang out with some folks in DC for Axios, a panel that they're having this evening, the future of cybersecurity in the AI area. So I'll be in downtown DC doing that this evening and probably singing karaoke after. So look for me.
Or maybe not. Gov Summit coming up soon. We have some good meetings on that, I think tomorrow or today. And we'll be discussing what we're doing, and we'll have some great content for you all. Come down, see the gang. I know Serge will be there.
And then Ronald Reagan Building, December 14th. Always a good time.
Always a good time. And once again, more karaoke afterwards. We do a lot of karaoke.
We do.
Little known fact. Lovely, Maria. Thank you for checking out that podcast. It is wonderful. And absolutely, for anyone wondering, you can also listen to this entire thing as a podcast as well. Finally, feel free to sign up for our newsletter. You'll get all the research we're doing, the blogs, appearances, and then if there is breaking news events that we have a Splunk-wide response for, we release it there. And then most importantly, Katie Brown, what's your favorite part of the newsletter?
The Wombat Facts.
The Wombat Facts. Learn something new every time. It's the best part about having a team down under is we've learned a lot about cute wombats, which really brings that joy to your life. Our algorithms optimize engagement, Dr. Fetterman. Engagement of wombats.
So good engagement, really. Yeah. Just square.
There we go. Which brings us to one. This is going to be a very interesting charity challenge. So let's roll some clip, Daniela. Very brief.
And now, Splunk's Cybersecurity 60-second charity challenge. Remember the rules. You've got to get through an entire subject in 60 seconds, or you donate to today's charity of choice. Good luck!
Well, this will tie into our deep dive, but today we wanted to chat about what is the bigger danger, patch management or misconfiguration? And with Kovar's newfound level of statistics in full force, thank you, Splunk. We wanted to find out kind of what Mick and I thought about this, and we both have strong opinions on either side, but we're going to let Katie Brown actually select who debates which side.
Well,
what's the charity? What's the charity we have today?
So it's the Summit Assistance Dogs. It is basically a organization that trains dogs to help disabled folks and be companion dogs and support dogs for them. It is based, I want to say, what are you from the Midwest? It's a fantastic organization. I saw the pictures of dogs and fell in love with it. And that is our charity today. Look at you, look how happy he looks.
He's
Super happy. Now, of course, this is what mental disability, or what's it? It's a National Disability Employment Awareness Month, and we have a wonderful charity here at Splunk, Disability Equals True, which has been doing a lot of great education and awareness. And yeah, so that's where we're going to donate the loser or the winner, depending on your thought here. We'll donate in, and yeah, what are we're doing patch management or misconfiguration, right, Mick?
Mm-hmm. So basically, it stems out of the Cisco NSA report we'll be talking about in our deep dive. But Katie, you get to decide who takes what tack, who is bad patch management, and who is misconfiguration.
Ryan, misconfigurations, Mick, patch management.
Ooh, as the 33-time straight winner, Mick, who goes first?
You know what? I guess I'll go. All right. So bad patch management is like you're a barbecue guy, so let's use barbecue. It's like using spoiled or expired meat. All right. It's not just a minor mistake. It's a fundamental issue. Now, I know even the best chefs can kind of spice it up a little bit, turn spoiled meat into a delicious dish. But in the tech world, not updating your software is like using this spoiled meat. It exposes the core and leaves you open to so many more problems. Now, misconfigurations is like the wrong barbecue sauce or the wrong rub or something like that. It's a mistake, all right, but it doesn't spoil the entire meal. You can still eat it. It's like making a bad pizza. You're still going to eat a pizza. You're just going to complain about it. A good barbecue chef can still salvage the meal and make it taste decent with wrong sauces or spices. But if you've got bad meat, you're in for a bad day. So tech world, misconfigurations cause problems. They're often fixable. But misconfigurations are so much easier than bad patch management. Did you understand what I meant, Ryan? All right.
No.
Got bad meat. You're having a bad day. Words to live by.
Okay, I'm doing misconfiguration. So when they built the Titanic, it was an incredible ship, the largest ship ever created. It had giant walls. It had giant. Oh, I get extra time. This is incredible. All the better to destroy you, Mick. Or maybe not. I have an eternity.
I'm timing you.
You're going to time me. We're going to adapt and overcome. This is misconfiguration.
I'll cut you off. Keep going.
You'll cut me off. Okay. So here's the thing. The Titanic was built to be an unsinkable ship. It had big, strong bulwarks. It had a strong prow. It had this incredible hull. It was incredible. But the whole thing was misconfigured because the bottoms of the ship actually didn't have the partitions go all the way up. It wasn't actually waterproof. And this is similar to misconfiguration. You can have the strongest network defense in the world, but if you just leave the front door open, it really doesn't matter. So sure, go ahead, apply even stronger door frames and go ahead and apply even stronger doors. But if you just leave the front door open, it really doesn't matter. So when I look at these ZeroDays, all these really sexy, exciting things happening in cybersecurity, to me, the easiest thing you can do is just configure your systems, be as strong as possible.
And done.
Whew, there we go. There we go.
Nicely done.
Woo!
Do I announce the winner now?
Do you what?
Well, I think the audience would
Can I
choose our
announce-
winner.
Well, we'll give them some time, but obviously we have the barbecue reference here as a chef's kiss. Bad barbecue is a complete mood killer. Love this. Tina, please, you're not allowed to contribute to this. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard. I mean, whew, we had some misconfiguration going, some stress, tried something new. I don't know. Katie, what are your thoughts here? Vamp a bit while we wait for the votes to roll in. And
Well,
please,
I mean,
do vote, people. Daniela, come back on. Come on, Daniela. Let's see it. What do you have?
I think misconfigurations are worse. It's a personal opinion. I really do.
I think
I like the analogy to the Titanic better.
Okay,
so I'm
wait.
gonna
Can I throw one at you, Katie, real quick? How about this? Misconfiguration. It'd be like if Taylor sang the wrong lyrics. Bad patch management is just outdated fashion. Okay. Like if your misconfigurations, if she sang the wrong song.
Listen to me good and listen to me well, sir. She can say all the wrong lyrics, and she is still.
There are no wrong lyrics, Mick. There are no wrong lyrics.
There is no wrong
Make
take.
them up on me talking in a different language. She's perfect.
There we go.
Yeah, both are bad.
Daniela,
But I'm with
your
you.
thoughts?
I'm kind of gonna go with Kevin. I think stayed on point. The barbecue analogy was good, but I think I got a little more from the. I agree with the misconfiguration.
Yep, there we go. So, Mick, it is your unfortunate pleasure to donate $60 matching to Splunk.
Oh, okay. Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Go say some puppies.
Sorry, Mark Clark, you came in too low. But if you want to see barbecue, just check out my Twitter, Cooking with Kovar. Whole bunch of barbecue there. So
there's a lot of barbecue votes for barbecue there, though.
Information about
yeah, nothing to do with patch management, but I love that we're actually going to redo. We're going to take over next week and just do a barbecue podcast with Chris Sanders.
It's a segue. Rick Holland will come over. It'd be great.
Which is a perfect segue into our deep dive. So let's roll some clip there.
On barbecue.
And now we talk about things that just happen to be on our minds with who's ever here, because we made this up before I knew who'd accept my meeting invite.
There we go. I still can't believe no one knew that was Audra jumping into the water there.
She is quite the diver. I didn't realize that.
She is quite the diver. Yeah, she's also not here to defend herself, which is even better. So the deep dive today, and Daniela, I know this might take you a minute to bring up because I don't think I told you to bring this up, but when you have a second, we have the NSA and CISA's top 10 misconfigurations. There we go. And this kind of goes into the NSA and CISA agree with me, and they also agree with Mick.
They would never.
They would never. And they agree with Katie, and they agree with everyone but the Mark and Mika. So, sorry. There's a lot of different things that you can do, but really the misconfiguration tends to be the number top 10. I think those are the things I would always focus on. It's the hard, boring part that actually makes a much bigger influence and impact on your network. And these are the areas that I think you can really go through. Now, Katie was so upset by this thought that she just dropped off completely.
I think she's going to go listen to some Taylor Swift songs.
Yeah, she's got some bad blood for you now, and it's not going to go well. So
I think we're dinosaur enough where you can look at that top 10 list, and these, I guess, if you had to do like your 10 commandments of cyber or your thou shall nots. But misconfigure, default configs, we've seen sometimes default is not the way you think it should be securely, but default makes it easier to use. Like things fail open, they don't fail closed for the most part. So that default configuration, we talked about the Cisco vulnerability just now. And if it was default where your admin server was exposed to the internet, a lot more people would be in for a bad ride.
Well, I remember what's their name? Ian Coldwater, is that it?
Mhm.
Their talks on Kubernetes were really informative to me because Kubernetes, for those who haven't done it, it's fantastically powerful, but it's also fantastically complicated. And a lot of the security issues are not actually security issues. They're just out-of-the-box configurations. They're the default settings because often Kubernetes is designed to be as flexible as possible. It's designed to be deployed inside of secure perimeter. So if you deploy it in a way that is external, you end up with a lot more issues than you thought. And that's just the way that works. For me, improper separation of user admin privilege. I remember last time I was a system administrator, one of the biggest impacts that we made, like single biggest impact we made on our network security, was we gave a different root username and password and different domain admin username and password to every system administrator on the network. So you had to do a run as, or you had to do an SU. You couldn't just have that right out of the box. And we just saw a huge reduction in basically adversaries being able to pivot right off the bat.
I think we've seen it a lot, especially in hot O-Day summer, a lot of the exploits or the incidents that we've seen, responded to, or worked with have been because, Ryan/admin is the same account. And it works in some environments. I think if you're in a hosted environment, you might have better luck with that. But for an enterprise environments, even small to medium business, you have to separate that because it's just too much in one place, right? And going to network monitoring, that's us all day. Network segmentation is part of the zero trust model. Poor management.
The two right there, I just want to go back. Like, those are fascinating to me because I feel like when we started our careers, those were like such a big deal, especially the like VLANs and network segmentation. And now I think because of the world of,
and I think that's why I glossed over it, because I am VLAN years old.
That's 100. But the one thing I will say is this came up recently because I was in Sweden at a customer site and we were talking about Log4Shell. And it wasn't Geneva, sadly. But we were talking about Log4Shell and they basically said, oh, it was a non-entity for us, external, but we've had adversaries using it internal. So they're pivoting and then they're using it against, basically vulnerable systems on the inside. And they said,
that was the call, right? That was the response was, hey, this is bad.
Yep.
Anything facing out, you need to patch that right away. Inside, you're fine-ish.
There we go. So bad, if you're not doing network monitoring internal, you could actually miss a significant amount of adversary action. But the VLAN stuff in a world of zero trust, and I just feel like maybe VLANs got replaced by zero trust. But poor patch management. Mick, you recently defended this poorly.
Okay, so I think misconfigurations are horrible. Patch management, it's just you can. What's the exploit? 2012-0158 Word document used by one of the groups, MS-08067. Like, these are carved in your head because they were usable for so long. If you don't patch these things, then you keep using that exploit over and over. And we've seen companies when they get compromised, the likelihood of them being compromised again is very high because of that.
Bypass of system access controls. Amusingly, our beloved Katie Brown just got locked out by our internal security team due to a little bit of a misconfiguration herself, and system access controls of not having her machine check in. So, we do not slack here at Splunk. IT team, our security team, on point, on it. Those are certainly there. MFA. I mean, if there were two things off this list that you could just tell people to do immediately, what would they be?
I think MFA and configurations.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's 100%.
I mean, I don't know. There's so many, like, all these things are like super basic. You can't really pick just one.
But they're so hard.
Right? Like, MFA is going to stop along things, but then the access control list is the way you define the users on your network. I think it's do it right from the foundation. But the default configurations, I think it was and you could probably find a tweet from Rob Joyce from the NSA online. It's just, hey, we don't hack, we just log in. We just your improper your improper configurations just let the front door open and make it easier for adversaries. Like NSA Red Team, I know you've done the same battles I have with them, and they just look for misconfigurations. And I think taking that time, when you look at a lot of the complicated ecosystem that we're all operating inside of, I think today or past couple of days, there was a vulnerability reported, not vulnerability with ServiceNow, some of the applets inside, but it's just those API configurations. And if you look through it, Hamid from Immunity back when he was there, did a lot of work. And that level of documentation and research for configurations gets super complicated. So I get it, especially when you talk about things like Kubernetes. So in addition to just plugging it in, let's make sure it's secure. And that's where the tricky part is.
And I think a lot of these, for me, are interesting because, with the exception of maybe MFA, but even to a point, like you can have this perfect, or you can have this almost perfect at some points. But the question is, do you have the political, do you have the operational aspect of this of continuity, right? Like, and I can't even believe I'm saying this, but like that's part of that resilience aspect. That's part of this.
Oh
like,
my gosh.
I know, but it's not wrong. It's not wrong. Like, it's easy to do something well once. It's really hard to do something well in perpetuity, to be always vigilant against boring stuff. It's like, one of the things I always like to do when I have people ask me to like do a security assessment or like where to start, and I say, is your security team part of the GPO login or the GPO policies? Because if they don't know that the things have changed, you don't even know what you're logging still. Like things change. Yeah. Like you might think that you're looking for X, but if they've gotten rid of that group policy orchestration or organization setting, if they've changed the log output because it was crashing a server and you no longer have telemetry, you don't know. If you M&A in a new company and they don't use MFA, you don't know.
You inherit all those assets. And even to your point, these 10 things are fantastic. And I really think that people should take the time to look at them and see how they can implement them better in their organizations. Then you get into a hybrid where there's a physical element to compromises, and that changes everything inside here completely.
So there we go.
But yeah, it's fascinating. It's fantastic. If you're looking like, hey, what should I do? What should I look at? That list from CISA, Red and Blue Team, and NSA is a fantastic resource.
Great place. So we will be back next week. Actually, I think Mick, you're doing an interview.
I'm hanging out with Michael Rodriguez. We are going to sit down and chat about. You ready? Space malware.
Yeah, this is.
You heard it back in May, and it blew my mind, and I really want to dig into that with him. So we're going to talk about Google
malware from space.
I can't. It's been in my head since we had that conversation.
It's incredible, and it's not
looking forward to that.
I mean, when you're dealing with exoplanet or exosystem lag time for command and control.
To be fair, it has to bounce off a couple satellites from the suit, and then it is fascinating, and it's an ecosystem where you look at things like OT, like ICS. It's the same, but a little higher.
Yeah, that was clever. I was thinking about this interview the other day because there's an article, and I'm sure it's not true, but they're talking about the viability of hotels in space. And I was just thinking of how fun that's going to be when you connect your Wi-Fi.
And those rewards programs are just getting out of hand. All right, It is just
the next stage after ambassador is actually astronaut for Marriott.
It's just ambassador's astronaut status.
Yeah,
so
it's great.
We'll hope we'll get that. But tune in next week. I'm hanging out with Michael Rodriguez. Definitely going to be a good time.
Yep, absolutely. And we're here every Tuesday, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, and then wherever it works for the rest of you all around the world. So thank you all very much. And with that, we'll go find Katie somewhere and see if her machine's unlocked. But take us away, Daniela. Thank you very much for everyone coming.
Surge.